Hello.
The sound is working.
Hello.
So-
Hello.
Right,
Is it me?
so just reading the English.
Looking for-
Here we go. Hearing of Sati's death, the attendants of Shambhu began to destroy the sacrifice. Seeing the sacrifice being destroyed, the great sage Bhrigu protected it. Shankara got all the news, and in his wrath he sent Virabhadra. Going there, the latter made havoc of the sacrifice and requited all the gods according to their deserts. As is well known to the world, Daksha met the same fate which an opponent of Shambhu generally meets. The story is known throughout the world. That is why I have told it in brief. While dying, Sati asked a boon of Sri Hari that she might remain devoted to the feet of Shiva in all successive births. That is why she was reborn as Parvati, lit daughter of a mountain. In the house of Himachala, the deity presiding over the Himalaya mountain. Ever since Uma was born in the house of Himalaya, the mountain became an abode of all blessings and prosperity. Sages built beautiful hermitages here and there, and Himalaya assigned them suitable abodes in the form of caves. Young trees of different varieties were endowed with never-failing blossoms and fruits, and mines of jewels of various kinds appeared on the beautiful mountain.
Sorry, everyone, if I hit the microphone. Right. All the rivers bore holy waters. Birds, beasts, and bees all rejoiced. Birds, beasts, and bees. All the bees. All animals gave up their natural antipathies, and all those who dwelt on the mountain loved one another. With the advent of Girija,
Girija.
a cinnamon of Parvati, the mountain Himalaya wore a cheerful look even as devotion to Sri Ram lights up the face of the devotee. Every day brought a new delight to those of Himachala, whose glory was sung even by great gods like Brahma, the creator. Receiving all the news, Narada eagerly went to the house of Himachala. Is it Chala?
Yeah, whenever it's C,
it's a ch.
Yeah, whenever it's C, it's ch, and I think sometimes you see CH, and those times you put an extra. That's what I'm doing anyway.
Okay, Himachala.
So it's like cha instead of cha. Yeah, the difference.
Say again.
Well, if it's just C, it'd be cha, and if it's CH, it'd be cha.
Cha.
You put a bit of cha. Yeah, you put a yeah.
The king of mountains, the presiding deity of the Himalayas, received him with great honor. Washing the sage's feet, he led him to a beautiful seat. He bowed his head at the sage's feet along with his wife and had his whole mansion sprinkled with the water hallowed by his feet. Himachala extolled his own luck and summoning his daughter placed her at the sage's feet. You know everything, including the past, present, and future, and have access everywhere. Therefore, O good sage, tell me what is good and what is bad about my daughter after a mature consideration. The sage smilingly replied in the following soft yet significant words: "Your daughter is a mine of all virtues, pretty, amiable, and intelligent by nature. She will be called Uma, Ambika." Is that literally mother? "And Bhavani. Adorned with all good traits, the girl shall win the unfailing love of her husband. She shall remain ever united with her Lord and bring glory to her parents. She shall command the respect of the whole universe. He who waits upon her shall lack nothing. By the mere thought of her name, women in this world shall be enabled to tread the path of fidelity to their Lord, which is sharp as the edge of a sword. Your daughter, O Himalaya, is endowed with auspicious marks. Here now the few drawbacks she possesses. Here we go. Devoid of merits, free from pride, without father or mother, unconcerned and free from doubts. An ascetic with matted hair and a heart devoid of longing, stark, naked, and with hideous accoutrements, such a one shall be her lord, as I can read from the lines on her palm. Here, do you want to keep going from here?
Yeah, I mean, see. Hearing the words of the sage and believing them to be true, Himalaya and his wife became disconsolate, while Uma felt delighted. Even Narada could not perceive this difference. Even though their outer expression was the same, their feeling was different. Girija and all her playmates, Himalaya and his wife Meena, all had their hair standing on their end and their eyes were full of tears. The words of the celestial sage Narada could not be untrue. Uma cherished them in her heart. Love for the lotus feet of Shiva sprouted in her heart. She, however, felt diffident in her mind. Union with Shiva appeared so difficult to her. Finding the time inopportune for its disclosure, she concealed her emotion and then sat down in the lap of one of her playmates. The prediction of the sage could not be false, and thought made Himavan and his wife as well as the senior playmates anxious. Collecting himself, the Lord of the Mountains said, "Tell me, holy sir, what remedy should now be employed?" The chief of sages, Narada, replied, "Hear, O Himavan, whatever has been decreed by fate, no one can undo, not even gods, demons, human beings, nagas, or sages. Nevertheless, I tell you one remedy. This may avail if heaven helps you. Uma will undoubtedly get such a husband as I have described to you. But whatever demerits I have shown in her bridegroom exist in Shiva, so far as I can guess. If her marriage takes place with Shankara, everyone will call the demerits as good as virtues. Even though Sri Hari uses the serpent god Shesha as his couch and sleeps thereon, the wise do not blame him for the same. Even though the sun and fire absorb moisture in all forms, but no one calls them names, Again, water of every description, pure as well as impure, flows into the Ganga. Yet no one calls the heavenly stream impure. Even like the sun, fire, and the Ganga, the mighty incur no blame. If in their pride of wisdom foolish men emulate the great, they are cast into hell for a whole kalpa or lifetime of the universe. Can an embodied soul vie with God?
Soul vie with God. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Holy men would never drink wine, even if they came to know that it had been made of water from the Ganga. But the same wine becomes pure when it is poured into the Ganga. The difference between an individual soul and God should be similarly explained. Shambhu is all-powerful by nature, for he is no other than God himself. Hence, matrimony with him will prove auspicious in every way. The great Lord Shiva is certainly difficult to propitiate.
Propitiate?
Propitiate? What does that mean? Find?
I don't know how to, I just know how to say it.
Find? Recognize? He's propping around somewhere doing something.
Why don't I look it up?
Yeah. Shiva is,
it has come up a few times, so it's probably worth
Shiva
knowing.
is certainly difficult to, like,
Propitiate. Meaning. Win or regain the favor of, in brackets, a god, spirit, or person by doing something that pleases them. The pagans thought it was important to propitiate the gods with sacrifices.
Wow.
To please. It just means
Well,
please
I'm glad you brought that up.
someone in seniority.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, no.
Because
Yeah, God, spirit, person.
Because Shiva is quickly pleased when penance is undergone. So now we know.
Propitiate means please.
Well, he is quickly pleased when penance is undergone.
What does penance undergone mean?
When you do your prayers and pray to him and bow to him. Yeah. If your daughter practices austerity, the slayer of the demon Tripura, Shiva can even erase the lines of fate. Oh, there you go. Even though there may be many a suitor in the world, there is no match for her except Shiva. He is the bestower of boons, the dispeller of the agony of the suppliant, an ocean of benevolence, and the delight of his devotee. Without propitiating Shiva, the object of one's desire can not be attained through millions of yogic practices and japa. That would be repetitions of the mystic formula. So saying, and with his thoughts fixed on Sri Hari, Narada gave his blessings to Girija and said, "Shed all fear, O Lord of mountains, all will now turn out well." Yay! Having spoken thus, the sage returned to the abode of Brahma, the creator. Now hear the end of the story, how it came about. Finding her husband alone, Meena, Himalaya's wife, said to him, "My lord, I could not follow the words of the sage. If the match, his house, and his pedigree are without parallel and worthy of our daughter, the marriage may be concluded. If not, the girl had better remain unmarried. For my lord, Uma is dear to me and as my own life. If we fail to secure a match worthy of Girija, everyone will say Himalaya is dull by nature. Keep this in mind, my lord, while concluding an alliance, so that there may be no cause for repentance." Having spoken these words, Meena laid herself prostrate with her head at the feet of her lord. The lord of the mountains, Himalaya, replied in endearing terms, "Sooner shall the moon emit flames of fire than the prophecy of Narada should prove untrue. Put away all anxiety, my dear, and fix your thoughts on the Lord. He alone who has created Parvati will bring her happiness." Now, if you cherish any love for your child, then go and admonish her that she should practice austerity which may bring about her union with Shiva. There is no other way of overcoming sorrow. The words of Narada are pregnant and full of season. Shiva, who bears a bull for his emblem, is handsome and a mind of all virtues. Recognizing this truth, do not entertain any misgiving. Shankara is irreproachable in every way. Hearing the above words of her husband, Meena felt delighted at heart. She at once rose and went where Girija was. At the sight of Uma, tears rushed to her eyes, and she affectionately took the girl in her lap. Again and again she hugged the child. Her voice was choked with emotion, and she found herself tongue-tied. The mother of the universe, the all-knowing Bhavani, then spoke the following soft words, which brought delight to her mother. Listen, mother, I relate to you a vision which I saw. A handsome, a fair-complexioned noble Brahmana gave me the following exhortation.
Recognizing the truth of Narada's words, go and practice austerity, O mountain maid. The idea has commended itself to your father and mother as well. Austerity is conducive to joy and puts an end to sorrow and evils. By virtue of penance to the Creator creates the universe. By virtue of penance, Vishnu protects the whole world. By virtue of penance, Shambho brings about dissolution. By virtue of penance, again, Sesha, serpent god, bears the burden of the earth on his head. In fact, the entire creation rests on penance. Bhavani. Oh, that's a whole. Yeah. Sorry. Bearing this in mind, go and practice austerity. Hearing these words, the mother was filled with wonder. She sent for Himalaya and communicated the vision to him. Consoling her parents in many ways, Uma set out for penance in a joyous mood. Her loving household and parents felt miserable, and none could speak a word. So I just want to finish that.
How old is Uma in this?
Don't ask complicated questions.
Because she's not obviously a small child, is she?
I don't know. It might have been in the bit that Sarah provided.
If you know the answer to the question, how old is she in this? Just put it in the comments.
It might be just before page 75. You could watch the last podcast.
Yeah, and then let us know.
Up to date.
Oh, me watch it.
Yeah. Should I keep going?
Yeah. I was just...
Yeah, sorry.
Because she's sitting in people's laps and now she's heading off somewhere.
Oh, things happen quickly in these texts.
Well, when you've got...
Sometimes like 10 years. Like I was just listening to Ramayana Valmiki the other day, and they did something that was 10 years. They got to some hermitage. 10 years passed, and it's a 14-year journey, and then just 10 years. And the book still goes for 70 hours.
You're lucky they didn't
You
know
know what I'm
every
saying?
10 years.
Yeah, like you didn't have to hear that.
Well, I guess because what was it like? They live for thousands of years, like 10,000 years. They live like it's not like they just get their 80 and they're done. So yeah, she could have aged. I don't know. She could have been a young child when we begin at the beginning of that sentence, and then 21 at the end of it.
Yeah.
Off to seek Shiva as her husband.
The sage Vedashira then came and consoled them all. They were comforted when they heard of the glory of Parvati.
Got another question for you.
Okay, yep.
Why do they give them so many names? Parvati, Uma, Bhavani.
Because they want to help us focus on one point.
By scattering my brain all over the names. By scattering my brain all over a million. Like, I can understand why she might have two, but like,
I don't know, but my feeling is that over the millennia, so Shiva gets a certain vibration, and then at some point someone's like, "Oh, I'm saying Shambho," and does the same thing, like, but in a way more respectful manner than I just said. Do you know what I mean? Shambho and Shankara, and
yeah.
Do you mean like they all invoke a similar aspect of God?
So my very uneducated idea of it was that they are different kind of incarnations or different like names of Shiva when he appears in a particular story. He gets like how Vishnu is Krishna and then Ram and then the dwarf that steps over the world. You know, in each one of those incarnations or stories, he has a different name. And so I thought that's kind of how they collected their names. Like in all the different stories, they might be called something slightly different.
Yeah, it is kind of reminding us of who they are.
But in this one, she just gets all these names straight out without having the different, or maybe they are the different incarnations, and Tulsi Das has just kind of put them together here so we know who they are.
You know the rest of the text,
or you know all the other stories about the gods and maybe.
Yeah. Well, because we know that Shankara is the same as Shiva and the same as Mahadeva, like, so we know of each.
Yeah.
As you read more, I guess you know more.
Yeah.
Of the names. We can jump on Wikipedia these days. Right. Already. Cool.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah. It's just because you had all the names straight out and they're using them all. But anyway, please continue.
I will.
I'll out.
Request.
I'll out.
Cherishing in
taking over this podcast.
Her heart, the feet of her dear Lord Uma went to the forest and began her penance. Her delicate frame was little fit for austerities, yet she renounced all luxuries, fixing her mind on the feet of her Lord. Her devotion to the feet of her Lord presented a new phase every day, and she got so absorbed in penance that she lost all her consciousness of her body. For 1,000 years she lived on roots and fruits alone, while for another 100 years she subsisted on vegetables.
You said 1,121 years old so far.
I was vegetarian for about how many years? 3 or 4 years? Not even.
You wouldn't have lasted this long?
For some days her only sustenance was water and air, while for a few days she observed a rigorous fast. For 3,000 years she maintained herself on the withered leaves of the Bela tree that dropped on the ground. Bela footnote. The Bela tree, Aigil Marmelos, is especially sacred to Shiva. Finally, she gave up even dry leaves. Uma then came to be known by the name of Aparna, living without leaves.
Do you think at like year 2,997 she thought, all these leaves? I'm not sure this dude's worth it.
What do you mean? She's not lit. She doesn't even get. She doesn't.
For another 3,000 years, she was doing something.
She gave up leaves. That's. Oh yeah. Okay. 3,000 years she survived on leaves. Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a long
A
time.
lot.
Better be worth it, Shiva. That's all I'm saying.
Seeing her body emaciated through self-mortification, the deep voice of Brahma, the Creator, resounded through the heavens.
Okay, now you have to do that for every time you mention Brahma.
But it was saying the deep voice of Brahma.
Yep.
I didn't want you to get the impression that it was the normal voice of Brahma. You need to know that it was the deep voice of Brahma.
Look, it's like, lady,
Listen.
Just eat a steak.
Listen,
Eat a steak, Lord.
Listen, O daughter of the Mountain King, your desire is accomplished. Cease all your rigorous penance. The slayer of Tripura will soon be yours. There have been. Oh, that's another thing that they do a lot, is that they remind us what Shiva is, the slayer of Tripura. They just remind us a lot of what Shiva does. That can be another way of saying Shiva, is by saying the slayer of Tripura.
Yes, yeah. And you meant to know who that is.
Yeah.
Slayer.
This is one of my chants.
Slayer.
There have been many.
Slayer.
There have been many self-possessed and illumined sages, but not one of them,
lived for
Bhavani,
3,000 years on leaves,
performed such penance as this. Now cherish in your heart this supreme utterance from heaven, knowing it to be invariably true and ever sacred. When your father comes to call you, give up all resistance and return home at once. Again, when the 7 sages meet you, be assured of the veracity of this oracle. Girija, the daughter of Himavan, rejoiced to hear this utterance of Brahma. echoed by heaven.
I'm gonna eat some ice cream.
Hang on, I'm losing the story.
And I'm just gonna live it. I'm gonna sleep in a bed.
To hear the utterance of Brahma echoed by heaven, and a thrill ran through her limbs. Yajnavalkya says to Bharadvaja, I have thus sung the beautiful story of Uma. Now hear the charming account of Shambhu. Ever since Sati went and quitted her body, Shiva's mind recoiled from everything. He ever repeated the name of the Lord of Raghus and heard the recitation of Sri Rama's glory here and there. The embodiment of intelligence and bliss, abode of happiness, Shiva, who is ever free from error, arrogance, and desire, roamed about on the earth with his heart fixed on Sri Hari, the delight of the whole world. Here he instructed the sages in wisdom, and there he extolled the virtues of Sri Rama. Though passionless and all-wise, the Lord was smitten with the pangs of separation from his devotee Sati. In this way, a considerable time elapsed. Devotion to the feet of Sri Rama was ever budding in his heart. When Sri Rama saw the self-discipline and affection of Shankara and the indelible stamp of devotion on his heart, the merciful Lord, who recognizes services rendered to him and is a mine of beauty and amiability and embodiment of great splendor, appeared before Shankara and extolled him in ways more than one. Who else than you can accomplish such a vow? He said, Sri Rama admonished him in many ways and told him of the birth of Parvati. The Lord, in his infinite compassion, narrated at full length the most pious doings of Girija. The
I think I can see.
very bottom line, that's all right.
Should we stop it and then just
No, just keep going.
now? Shiva, if you have, oh yeah, I am going from the bottom
The
one,
very
am I?
bottom
The
one,
very
yeah.
bottom. Okay, starting again. Now, Shiva, if you have any affection for me, listen to my appeal. Go and marry. Okay, Shalaja. Shalaja, the daughter of Himachala. Look, she got another name. Grant this boon to me. Shiva replied, although this is hardly justifiable, the words of a master cannot be set aside at the same time. My lord, your command must be respectfully carried out. This is my paramount duty. So, he was on a bit on the fence, The words of one's parents, teacher, and master must be unquestionably obeyed as conducive to bliss. I'm not sure about that one. You are my supreme benefactor in every way. Therefore, my lord, I bow to your commands. The Lord was pleased to hear the well-chosen words of Shankara, which were inspired with devotion, wisdom, and piety. The Lord said, your vow has been kept. Now bear in mind that I have told you. Saying so, he went out of sight. Shankara cherished the impression of the vision in his heart. The very moment the 7 sages called on Shiva, that very moment, sorry. He was called by the 7 sages. The Lord spoke to them in most charming accents. All right, here we go. Going to how do I sound charming? I don't even know. Going.
You tell me to do it. I'll be
Okay.
charming.
Hang on. Wait.
To Parvati.
I got to say this part. The Lord spoke to them in the most charming accents. Going to Parvati.
Going to Parvati. You put her love to the test. Then directing her father, Himalaya, to her, send her back to her home and dispel her doubts. I just knocked that out of the park.
Yeah, nailed it.
That's charming.
That's a charming accent if I ever heard one.
I couldn't read it.
I'm charmed. I'm charmed. Viewers, are you charmed? All right. Where were we? There the seers saw Gowrie.
Sorry.
Seesaw.
Yeah.
The seesaw.
There's a reference to playgrounds there that not many people have picked up. You'll only get that here on this podcast. Reference to playgrounds.
They're the seesaws.
Shout out to kids there.
Is it Gowrie?
Gowrie.
A name of Parvati. Fair complexioned. Okay. So, as if she were penance itself personified, the sages said, hear, O daughter of Himachala, why are you practicing such rigorous penance? Whom do you worship and what do you seek? Why not confide to us the real secret? I feel very shy in making my submission. You will be amused to hear my folly. Yet my mind has taken a rigid attitude and heeds no advice. It would raise a wall on water. Relying on the truth of Narada's prophecy, I long to fly even without wings. Look at my madness. I always covet Shiva as my husband. Hearing the above reply, the sages laughed and said, after all your body owes its existence to a mountain, Himalaya, tell us who has ever listened to Narada's advice and lived in his home. He called on and admonished the sons of Daksha, and they never saw their home again. It was he who ruined the home of Chittaraketu, and again, there we go, Hiranyakshpu. Does that sound like a name you've heard before?
Did we try it?
Yep. Hiranya Kashipu.
Shipu. You got it. Yeah.
The father of Prahlada met a similar fate. Men and women who listen to Narada's advice are sure to leave their home and become mendicants. Guileful at heart, he bears on his person the marks of a pious man. He would make everyone just like himself. Relying on his words, you crave for a husband who is apathetic by nature, devoid of attributes, shameless, homeless, and naked. Well, that's one description of Shiva. Who has an auspicious look about him, wears a string of skulls around his neck. Oh, he sounds like a catch. Is without a family and has serpents for his ornaments. Bring him home to mum for sure. Tell her. What?
Just shaking in my head at you. That's all.
Tell us what happiness do you expect by obtaining such a husband? You have fallen an easy prey to the machinations of that impostor. Shiva married Sati at the intercession of some friends, but later on he abandoned her and left her to die. Shit. Shiva is carefree now. He lives on alms and enjoys a sound sleep. Can women ever stay in the house of habitual recluses? Don't know. Even now, accept our advice. We have thought of an excellent match for you, exceptionally good looking, pious, agreeable, and amiable, whose glory and exploits are sung by the Vedas. He is free from blemish, is a mine of all virtues, and the lord of Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity. And he has abode in Vaikuntha. Such a suitor we shall unite with you. Hearing this, Bhavani laughed and said, Yeah, right. You have rightly observed that this body of mine is begotten of a rock. I would sooner die than give up my tenacity. Gold is another product of rock which does not abandon its character, even on being consigned to fire. I may not ignore Narada's advice. Whether my house is full or desolate, I fear not. He who has no faith in the words of his preceptor cannot easily attain either happiness or success, even in a dream. The great God Shiva may be full of faults, and Vishnu may be a repository of all virtues. One is, however, concerned with him alone who gladdens one's heart. I mean, it's not too bad, though. So one suitors Shiva, the other suitors Vishnu. It's not like they went from, I don't know, Shiva to garbage man. Not that there's anything wrong with being a garbage man, but they kept gods. Like Shiva, Vishnu, take your pick.
You finished that one?
Yep, so you're starting there.
Had you met me earlier, O great sages, I would have listened to your advice with reverence. But now that I have staked my life for Shambho, who will weigh his merits and demerits? If you are specially bent upon uniting a pair and cannot help negotiating a match, there is no dearth of suitors and maidens, and those who take delight in such games know no weariness. As for myself, I must wed Shambho, or remain a virgin, no matter if I have to continue the struggle for 10 million lives. I will not disregard Narada's admonition, even if Shambho himself tells me 100 times to do so. I fall at your feet, continued Parvati, the mother of the universe. Please return to your home. It is already late. Seeing Parvati's devotion, the enlightened sages exclaimed, Glory, all glory to you, O Bhavani, mother of the universe. You are Maya, while Shiva is God himself. You are the parents of the whole universe. Bowing their head at the feet of Parvati, they departed. A thrill ran through their frame again and again. The sages went and dispatched Himavan to Girija, and he, with many entreaties, brought her home. The seven seers then called on Shiva and told him the whole story of Uma. Shiva was enraptured to hear of her love, and the Saptarsis gladly went home. The all-wise Shambho then concentrated his mind and began to meditate on the Lord of Raghus. A demon, Taraka by name, flourished in those days. His strength of arm, glory, and majesty were great indeed. He conquered all the spheres as well as the guardians of those spheres. All the gods were robbed of their happiness and prosperity. Knowing neither age nor death, he was invincible. The gods fought many a battle with him and lost them. They went to Varanasi, Brahma, and told him their grievances. The Creator found all the gods miserable.
What's wrong, homies?
Brahma reassured them, all saying,
Don't worry.
The demon shall die only when there is a son sprung from the lions of Shambho, for he alone can subdue the demon in battle. Maybe it'll be Ganesha. Maybe it'll be Ganesha.
What's that?
The son of Shambho.
Ganesha is the son of Shambho.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I'm not telling everyone yet.
Oh.
But maybe that's
Spoiler alert, sorry.
Maybe that's what will happen. I don't know. I actually don't know.
That's what he gets his it's when he's... Yeah. He doesn't know it's when he leaves Parvati and goes to meditate for a million years.
Yeah. But I don't know if Shiva has other sons.
He probably does.
Hearing what I say, act accordingly. God will help you and the plan will succeed. Sati, who left her body at the sacrifice performed by Daksha, has been born again in the house of Himachala. She has undergone penance for winning the hand of Shambho, while Shiva has renounced everything and sits absorbed in contemplation. Although it is most unseemly, yet hear one proposal of mine. Approaching Cupid, the god of love, send him to Shiva.
So Cupid is a Hindu god as well as a Greek. Because Cupid is Cupid.
One of the reindeers?
He's the Valentine. Is he a reindeer? I don't know, is he?
I don't know.
Donna Blitzen, Comet. I don't think he is. I don't think Cupid is.
Oh.
Dasher, Dancer. Is it Prancer?
Cupid. Donna and Blitzen.
Blitzen. Donna and Blitzen. Thunder and Lightning.
Oh no.
Ditson.
All right.
Rudolph.
Send them to Shiva and let him disturb the serenity of Shankar's mind. Then we shall go and bow our head at Shiva's feet and prevail on him to marry even against his will. In this way alone may the interests of gods be served. The idea is excellent, everyone said. The gods then prayed with great devotion, and the god of love, armed with 5 arrows and having a fish emblazoned on his standard, appeared on the scene. Footnote: while the lotus, the ashoka flower, the mango blossom, the jasmine, and the blue lotus. These are 5 kinds of arrows with which the god of love is believed to be armed. The gods told him in all their distress. Hearing their tale, the god of love pondered and spoke thus with a smile. I expect no good results for myself from hostility to Shambho. However, I shall do your work, for the Vedas say benevolence is the highest virtue. The saints ever praise him who lays down his life in the service of others. So saying, the god of love bowed his head to all and departed with his associates. The bow of flowers in his hand. While leaving, Love thought within himself that hostility to Shiva would mean sure death to him. He then exhibited his power and brought the whole world under his sway. When the god of love, who bears a fish for an emblem, betrayed his anger, all the barriers imposed by the Vedas were swept away in a moment. The whole army of Viveka, discriminating knowledge, continence, religious vows, self-restraint of many kinds, fortitude, piety, spiritual wisdom, and the knowledge of qualified divinity, both with form and without form, morality, muttering of prayers, yoga, contemplative union with God, dispassion, and so on, fled in panic.
Viveka took to flight with his associates. His great warriors turned their back on the field of battle. They all went and hid themselves in mountain caves in the form of sacred books at the time. There was commotion in the world, and everybody said, "My goodness, what is going to happen? What power will save us? Who is that superhuman being with 2 heads to conquer whom the Lord of Rati, love, has lifted his bow and arrows in rage?" So, footnote, Rati, the name of love's wife. Oh, okay. Whatever creatures existed in the world, whether animate or inanimate, and bearing masculine or feminine appellations, transgressed their natural bounds and were completely possessed by lust. Hello. The minds of all were seized with lust. It was probably a very fun time. Oh, hang on, I've lost my...
Got lost
in lust. I'm thinking, this is the best part of the book so far. Story's gone somewhere I didn't expect. The boughs of trees bent low at the sight of creepers. Rivers in spate rushed to meet the ocean. Lakes and ponds united in love with one another. Where such was reported to be the case with the inanimate. That's it, thank you. Creation. Who can relate to the doings of sentient beings? Beasts that walk on land, and birds traversing the air, and water lost all sense of time and became victims of lust. The whole world was blinded with passion and agitated. The Chakravaka birds, ruddy geese, footnote. Sounds kind of confused between side note and footnote. Side note, footnote, protocol. Okay. The red gander and goose are said to unite only during the daytime. They cannot meet at night, even if there is no physical barrier between them. During the brief span of time referred to above, they ignored this natural bar and met even during the night. Here we go. Okay, so back to the ruddy geese regarded neither day nor night. Gods, demons, human beings, Kinnaras, a class of demigods, serpents, evil spirits, fiends, ghosts, and vampires. I have refrained from dwelling on the condition of these, knowing them to be internal slaves of passion. Even siddhis, spiritual adepts, great sages who had no attraction for the world, and yogis, mystics, gave up their yoga, contemplative union with God, under the influence of lust. Even great yogis and ascetics were completely possessed by lust, to say nothing of low-minded people. Those who till lately looked upon the animate and inanimate creation as full of Brahma now saw it as full of the fair sex. Women perceived the whole world as full of men, while the latter beheld it as full of women. For nearly an hour this wonderful game of love lasted in the universe. Nobody could remain self-possessed. The hearts of all were stolen by the god of love. They alone could hold their own against him, to whom the hero of Raghu's race extended his protection. The wonder lasted for an hour or so till the god of love reached Shambho. Cupid trembled at the sight of Shiva. The whole world returned to itself. All living beings regained their peace of mind at once, even as the intoxicated feel relieved when their spell of drunkenness is over. The god of love was struck with terror at the sight of Bhagavan Rudra, Shiva, who is so difficult to conquer and so hard to comprehend. He felt shy in retreating and was incapable of doing anything. Ultimately, he resolved upon death and devised a plan. That's extreme. He forthwith manifested the lovely spring, the king of all seasons. Rows of young trees laden with flowers appeared so charming. Woods and groves, wells and ponds, and all the quarters of heaven assumed a most delightful aspect. Everywhere nature overflowed with love, as it were. The sight aroused passion even in dead souls. Passion was aroused even in dead souls, and the beauty of the forest beggared description. A cool, gentle, and fragrant breeze fanned the fire of passion as a faithful companion. Rows of lotuses blossomed in lakes, and swarms of charming bees hummed on them. Swans, cuckoos, and parrots uttered their sweet notes, while celestial damsels sang and danced. The god of love, with his army of followers, exhausted all his numberless stratagems. Shiva's unbroken trance, however, could not be disturbed. This made Cupid angry. Did you read? Seeing a beautiful bough of a mango tree, the god of love climbed up to it in a mood of frustration. He joined his 5 arrows to his bow of flowers and, casting an angry look, drew the string home to his very ears. He discharged the 5 sharp arrows, which smote the breast of Shiva. The trance was now broken, and Shambho awoke. The Lord's mind was much agitated. "Shit, I've just been hit by 5 arrows," he said. He didn't. I just put that in there.
I was going to say, I don't think he said shit. All the rest of it was fine.
What the? I've just been having a really long contemplation
Got
session.
explicit on this episode.
Sorry. Opening his eyes, he looked all round. When he saw Cupid hiding behind the mango leaves, he flew into a rage, which made all the 3 spheres tremble. Shiva then uncovered his 3rd eye. The moment he looked at the god of love, the latter was reduced to ashes. Oh, yeah, that's pretty harsh. A loud wail went up through the universe. The gods were alarmed, while the Domons were, I think that's maybe demons, but there's a spelling mistake there, were gratified. The Domons?
Yeah, I reckon it's a dubbo.
The Domons were gratified. The thought of loss of sense delights made the voluptuary sad, while the striving yogis were relieved of a thorn, as it were.
Yeah.
Yep.
The yogis were freed from torment. While Rati, wife of the god of love, fainted as soon as she heard of the fate of her lord. Weeping and wailing and mourning in various ways, she approached Shankara, and making loving entreaties in divergent forms, she stood before the Lord with clasped hands. Seeing the helpless woman, the benevolent Lord Shiva, who is so easy to placate, prophesied as follows: Henceforth, O Rati, your husband shall be called by the name of Ananga, bodiless. He shall dominate all even without a body. Now hear how you will meet him again. When Sri Krishna will descend in the line of Yadu to relieve the earth of its heavy burden, your Lord will be born again as his son Pradyumna. This prediction of mine can never be untrue. Hearing the words of Shankara, Rati went away. I now proceed to relate the subsequent part of the story when Brahma, the creator, and the other gods received all the tidings. They repaired to Vaikuntha, the abode of God Vishnu. Thence all the gods, including Vishnu and Varanachi Brahma, went where the all-merciful Shiva was. They severally extolled and won the pleasure of the Lord, whose crest is adorned by the crescent. Shiva, who is an ocean of compassion and has a bull emblazoned on his standard, said, Tell me, immortals, what has brought you here? To this Brahma replied, Lord, you are the inner controller of all. Even then, my master, my devotion to you urges me to make the following submission. The heart of all the immortals is seized with a dominating impulse. They long to witness your wedding with their own eyes, my lord. O humbler of the pride of love, devise some means whereby we may be enabled to feast our eyes on this glad event. Having burnt the god of love, you have done well in granting a boon to Rati. O ocean of compassion, having meted out punishment, good masters shower their grace as a matter of course. Such is their natural habitat. Parvati has practiced penance, the magnitude of which cannot be estimated. Kindly accept her now. Hearing the entreaty of Brahma and remembering the words of the Lord Sri Rama, Shiva gladly said, Amen. The gods thereupon sounded their kettle drums, and raining down flowers, they exclaimed, Victory, victory to the Lord of Celestials. Considering it to be an opportune moment, the seven seers arrived on the scene. Brahma immediately sent them to the abode of Himavan. They approached Bhavani in the first instance and addressed the following sweet yet deceptive words to her. Relying on the voice of Narada, you would not heed our remonstrances then. Your vow has failed now, for the great Lord Shiva has burnt the god of love. Hearing this, Bhavani smiled and said, "O great illumined sages, you have spoken aright. According to your belief, it is only now that Shambho has burnt the god of love, and that till now he was smitten with love. To my mind, however, Shiva is eternally in rapport with the infinite, unbegotten, irreproachable, passionless, and without enjoyment. Knowing
Sounds
him,
like a blast.
knowing him as such, if I have served him lovingly in thought, word, and deed, then hear, O great sages, the gracious Lord will accomplish my vow. Your statement that Hari has burnt the god of love betrays woeful lack of thought in you. Fire, my friends, possesses this inherent property that frost can never approach it. In case it does, it must inevitably perish. Similar is the case with the god of love and the great Lord Shiva. Hearing the words of Bhavani and perceiving her devotion and faith, the sages were gladdened at heart. Bowing their head to her, they went to Himavan. They related the whole episode to him, and he was much grieved to hear how Shiva had burnt love. The sages then told him of the boon granted to Rati, and Himavan was much relieved to hear this. Recalling to his mind the glory of Shambho, Himachala respectfully summoned great sages. He had an auspicious date, asterism, and hour ascertained, and speedily got the exact time of wedding fixed and noted down accordingly to the Vedic precepts. Himachala handed over the note recording the exact time of wedding to the seven seers, and clasping their feet made entreaties to them. Calling on Brahma, they delivered the note to him, and as he went through it, his heart overflowed with joy. Brahma read the note aloud to all, and the sages, as well as the whole concourse of gods, was delighted to hear it. Flowers were showered from the air, music flowed from various instruments, and auspicious jars were placed in all directions.
We're having a wedding. Someone's getting married.
Yeah.
Even though we've killed the god of love, marriage is still happening.
Yeah, so I reckon that's probably enough, eh?
Yeah, for
Today?
this one.
Pulled out my other
But it's all right
page.
because you mark the pages. And Bama joining us
Okay.
for our readings.
All right. Yep. Up to page 98.
98.
That's where it was. Yep.
Tune back
catch
in for
you
99.
next time.
Nearly page 100. Fuck yeah. Oh. Explicit.
All right, let's just cut that out.